Hello, I'm Princess Anne, and whenever I want to buy a classic car, I go to carandclassic.com. They've got over 35,000 cars and motorbikes for sale at any given time, either by advert or online auction. Personally, I've just picked up an Aeroshape Astra GTE. It's well wicked. I'm on my 7th. So, go to carandclassic.com or I'll set the horses on you.
Smith & Sniff is sponsored by Car and Classic.
A Reliant what? Never heard of it.
I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Johnny Smith.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. Sorry. I have to explain.
Yes, you must.
Just before we started recording, I suddenly looked down and realised that I've split my trousers. Just like jeans as well. I'm not wearing some sort of like.
Oh wow! So thick denim fabric.
Thick denim, but it's a big hole. But what's troubling me is that I don't know how long it's been there.
Yeah,
and I've been wearing these trousers for a few days, I think, this week. So
a few days. Hang on a minute.
Well,
have you been inadvertently showing a bit of gristle?
Well, there's underpantage. There's sparing my blushes, but if there wasn't, a turkey neck would be poking out because it's a big hole. Not trying to flatter myself there, but it is a big hole. It's a distressingly big hole. And I just can't figure out. I think I put these jeans on the day before yesterday.
Now look.
And so I've just been walking around with a big hole. I mean, obviously when I'm standing up, it's probably hidden. But now I'm sitting down. It's like it is very apparent. And I'm sort of spooling back through where I might have been sitting down. And I realised I went to a meeting yesterday.
And you had a bit of archliner poking out.
Chair. I know.
We've had loads of flash floods around here in the last few days. You're one of those people that goes through the flood a little bit quick and loses both front archliners. Yes. Just leaves them in the puddle for the next person.
I know you're a connoisseur of the lost under tray, and I saw a spectacular one the other day. I was trying to work out what car it was. I mean, it looked like it was off a frigging McLaren or something, but it was huge.
Was it?
It was basically so there's the kind of prominent bit that would have gone between the front wheels and then up under the front bumper, I guess.
Yes.
But then after that, I guess this is sort of behind the wheel arches, broadened out, and there was a whole section there. So it was a big old sheet of plastic. And I don't think it had been taken off by a flood, although I don't know, because it's been a bit like that down here as well. What do you propped up at the side of the road.
Oh yeah, like polite people in villages put hubcaps against a low wall and just go, there's no message, it's just like, in case anybody needs this again, I'm going to give it, a month, and then I'll throw it away. It's nice, isn't it?
Statute of limitations on this lost Astra wheel trim.
I do like it.
I'd imagine this happens less and less, though, because fewer cars have wheel trims. I mean, even sort of quite entry-level cars
have alloys.
You go one up from base, and there's a solid chance you'll get alloys.
There is, but don't you think it's a bit like leather, where you can get leather on almost everything apart from the base model car? Therefore, it's not special. Therefore, we need to rewrite the rules of trim.
Exactly.
Trim rules need to be... We need to have a new kind of like amnesty for all the manufacturers sit together one evening by candlelight. And we go, and we all say, what is your idea? What's your perception of real luxury? Let's just rewrite this.
I think they're sort of doing that, aren't they? Not together around the fireside, but individually, because you are seeing a bit more cloth coming in, sort of for ecological reasons.
Yeah, more recycled fibres.
So, you can actually pay more on Range Rovers, certain Range Rovers, to have Kvadrat.
The Kvadrat, which sounds like a Kvadrat. He sounds like a Bombaddy. Of recycled fibres. Mr. Bond, I was expecting you. Oh, gosh, it's
No,
Kvadrat.
Mr. Bond, I expect you to be warm in the winter. And
very caring.
Dr. Leather. Yeah, so what were we saying? Anyway. Well, this leads me in a strange sort of way to I've got a few shout-outs and thank yous and things to do this week, and the first one is to Dave Mole, a chap called Dave Mole, who's a listener and a patron, but also a stand-up chap, because he owns a company, or co-owns a company, called Birmingham Car Keys.
What do they do, Richard?
Well, it's amazing, actually, because they make wedding cakes.
Oh, in the shape of car keys?
Yes. Dave drives around in a very neat Mercedes van that's got what's neat is inside it. It's got a whole workshop in the back, but you would never know. All
I love those.
Done. And he said he'd heard my whinging about my Panda having no spare key, and he went, well, we can do spare keys. A few people pointed this out, but Dave wanted one more, because he went, I can actually make you one, and I can come by and do it, because he's a peripatetic key maker. So he came by the other day. But I'm starting to wonder, was I wearing these trousers when he came by? In which case, Dave, I apologise if you saw some of my underpants.
I love this. This is great.
But so Dave came by and he went, look, I can just do. And not only that, but I thought he would just be able to make a sort of a normal key with the blade and then the right chip in it, so it talks to the immobiliser. But no, he could do me a flip key just like the original, but with nice clicky new buttons on it. It's a beautiful thing. And then he went, how's your Range Rover spare key? And I was like, well, it's a bit manky, actually. And he was like, well, I can do you one of those. And he carries proper OEM Land Rover keys, but the newer style, which is smaller, because the Range Rover key is massive. In fact, that might be why I've worn a hole in my trousers, because it always looks like you're slightly aroused when you're carrying that Range Rover key around.
Is it that big?
So it's huge. It's ridiculously big.
Is it like those? Is it like when all of the tourists flock to Cornwall and Devon in the next month or so, is it like one of those foam bodyboards that always ends up at the side of the motorway? Is it like that, but with Range Rover written on it?
It's sort of, no, it's more like, it's just sort of needlessly chunky, and I could see why they did it. They went, so let's remind people of our off-road heritage and our robustness by making this thing needlessly big. It's like sort of carrying a fruit loaf in your pocket. It's just too big.
I bought a fruit loaf yesterday.
Yummy. But people take the guts out of them, and you can just buy a newer style JLR fob off eBay and stick the guts into that. So you know that it's oversized because the newer style one is smaller, but the innards still fit into it. But Dave made me a whole new one, too, in fact, for the Range Rover. So now I've got a nice, sleek, more modern key, and it's got lovely clicky buttons on it that aren't worn. So I just want to say thank you for coming by, Dave. He was a really, really good bloke as well. And he was telling me about his old M3 that, tragically, he had a really high mileage E92 M3, and then needs to sell it. And because it was a bit leggy, it had 200,000 miles on it. He couldn't get anyone to bite for decent money.
They were almost too scared.
Yeah, which is silly, really, because it sounds like it was a really good car, and he ended up having to just sell it for salvage.
Oh, that's awful. If he's enjoyed lots of miles in it, I probably couldn't face doing that. Needs must.
Well, anyway, so Dave, Birmingham Car Keys. If you, I'll put a link to their website. I mean, obviously, if you live in Aberdeen, it might be a little impractical, but if you're in the sort of Midlands-ish broader area, then he comes around in a Mercedes van and makes all your spare key dreams come true. Also, talking sort of salvage.
Yes.
I was also saying that my Panda doesn't have a little rubber bung on the fuel filler flap to make it sit flush.
It's the damper, this little damper, isn't it? Or something.
I had a look on the website of your mates at that salvage place, which we'll come on to in a minute, but he doesn't have that. That man and his company do not seem to go down to the granular level of fuel filler flap bung.
Do you want me to ask Olivier Francois off of Stellantis?
Well, no, because he's too busy. I was going to say something really rude then, but he's too busy hanging out with Keke Rosberg and Mariah Carey.
Oh, you were going to say hanging out of Keke Rosberg, weren't you?
No, I was going to say something really rude. But anyway, I'll tell you afterwards. But no, Panda Bung. So a few people got in touch about this. A listener called Pete Gamble, tragically, his 100 horsepower has just been duffed up the back end by, apparently, as he described it, some flute of an American tourist who couldn't drive their hire car properly.
Oh, no.
And duffed it forwards into another car as well. But the main problem is it's damaged the rear axle, and the rear axles are unique to the 100 horsepower, and you cannot get them anymore. So this may write off Pete's car. But he says, and as we speak, I think it's being assessed by the insurance people.
Yeah.
If it's written off, I can have his bungs. His generous offer.
That's really sad. It's kind of kind, but also sad.
I know. Well, as I was messaging Pete, and I said, look, I'm kind of rooting for the little guy here, because I don't want your car to be written off, because I know how lovable they are, and it's heartbreaking. I also need to say thank you to a chap called Lawrence from a place called Fettle and Finesse. You might have seen them on Instagram. He makes a lot of videos from his workshop, and he's a real Pandaist. He's currently rebuilding what might turn out to be the nicest Panda 100 horsepower in Britain, because he's gone sort of right down to taking it all apart to make it as nice and as rust free as possible, and then he's building it all back up again with decent parts.
Better than New Example.
Yeah, I think so. I'm quite jealous, actually, and it's also made me a bit paranoid about how rotty mine might be in certain hidden places. But anyway, Lawrence got in touch. Well, he actually made a little video, because he heard the podcast, and he made a little video for his Instagram showing a life hack for Panda bungs using the little covers for, I think, bleed nipples it was. They can go into the bung hole and substitute for the OEM stuff. But then I messaged him and said thanks for the shout out in his video, and he was like, I've actually got some genuine bungs from another trashed Panda that he's using for bits.
They're not 100 horsepower specific, surely? No,
they're not, but I think the 100 horsepower community is strong and rallies round when one of its own is in bung trouble. And finally, a shout out to a chap called Howard, a listener of ours called Howard, who hasn't got a spare Panda bung, but has got a 3D printer and offered to 3D print me some. So, which I think I'm drowning in bungs now, so I don't need that. But Howard, thank you for the offer.
Drowning in bungs?
Yes.
I mean, seriously. Well, I was going to just backdate my Trouser chat to yours from 10 minutes ago, because I've realised that the trousers that I always wear when I do a barn find on the Late Break Show, there is just one pair, and they are getting very threadbare. There's a couple of slits and holes in them, and I think the holes are getting so big now that I have to wear underlayers under them, and I'm now worried about come summertime. I do wonder if I don't know, if a little bit of something might be seen. Should we just say surplus skin, and then it might sour what is an interesting story on the channel. So, do I sew them up? Do we mend and make do like your jeans? Take them to an accomplished seamstress / male version of seamstress. Seamster? I don't know. Is it just tailor?
Yes, that would.
Also known as tailor. Tailor. Do we do that? Because I feel like they're a very comfortable pair of trousers, and I think they'll go on a bit longer. Or do I just abandon ship and get some no-name supermarket indigo denims?
No, in the spirit of... It feels very sort of in the spirit of the barn finds to restore these trousers. Ooh. You could even do a whole film where you're with the tailor or seamster or whatever you'd call him or her, and you do a sort of, that bit like you do in the barn find videos. Are you going to be able to get it started? Are you going to be able to see your plums when you put them back on again after they've received some attention from the sewing machine? You could really ramp up the tension. So
That's a great idea.
No, you should try and keep them going.
I feel like we should do there needs to be an exceptionally lazy consumerism version of the Repair Shop TV show.
Where they just throw things away.
Where somebody brings in a musical jewellery box that's been in the family for 110 years, and there's obviously the sob story that's laid down, and then it's like, okay, team, everybody come around, let's have a look and see what we can do with this. And then there's a long pause, and they go, well, I've just been on Argos's website. You can get one that's fairly similar for $29.99. So, bearing in mind that we're going to charge £40 an hour, shall I just click and collect, and then you guys can make some flapjack?
Well, they divide up the labour, right? You go order it online. You drive down to the Argos, click and collect. Or actually, they've got one in the Sainsbury's, haven't they? Go there, and I'm going to put this in the bin. That's just every week.
No, then it's like, and then bring it back. We'll get it out the box, throw the box away, put it in the old shoebox that the lady brought it in, and you, Basil, can you just wipe a load of like tea and coffee all over it, and can you chip the corners slightly? Okay, brilliant.
Touch them in with Tipp-Ex.
Yeah. And can you write the lady shop? Can you write the girl's name underneath like she did when she was at primary school with a pair of compasses? Yeah, you scratch that in. Brilliant. Okay, done. Team, I reckon we'll have all this done within the next hour, and then we can do some online gambling. It'd be brilliant. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And then the pubs are open. Off we go. Yeah. It would save all that faffing about with shellac and whatever else they used to restore things.
Family sob stories. Who needs it? Right.
Yeah. Let me just stop you there. Not interested in your sob story. As soon as your back's turned, this is going in the bin. I'm off down to B&M Home Bargains, where I reckon I can get something pretty similar for £9. So let's just all save ourselves a lot of time.
It's Car SOS. It's exactly what Car SOS should do. They take all of the emotion out of it. They go, well, my father, he always wanted to get this back on the road. It's been in his.
Let me just stop you there, because as soon as you walk off, this is getting weighed in. Okay.
Yeah.
When you come back, Kia Picanto.
Yes, a brand new.
Interest-free credit. It's just brand new. Honestly, save yourself the aggro, mate. Don't care about your dad. It's just a Cortina. There were loads of them. Now fuck off.
Every single episode, they pull a sheet off it, and it's just another brand new Kia Picanto in a different colour.
Turns out he's actually got like a fleet of them round the back, like fairgrounds when they've got the teddy bears that you win. When you win one, they take it off the shelf. They've just got a load more underneath the counter. They can stick one back up there.
But just to rub it in, before they tug the cloth off, they do the emo backstory. They go, look, so you've told us that you remember going on these incredible family holidays, sitting on the back seat of the Cortina, looking out the window, and Mum and Dad had the 8-track on, listening to the Eagles, and it was all very evocative. He goes, so what we've done is we've got that same Eagles track, but we've just got it on Spotify. It's on your phone right now, actually.
And actually, we couldn't find that exact track, so in fact, this is just a Rita Ora song that we like. All right.
And what you can do now is, we've phoned your work, you've got 2 days off. You can do the same. You can recreate the same journey. Go down to the same place that you did in France with your mum and dad, but you're going to be in this brand new Kia Picanto, which has got air conditioning, it's got leather seats which don't feel like leather, and it's got a 7-year warranty. So
it's just a better car. It's
just simply better, and doesn't smell like a library.
You told us that one of the things that you loved about your dad's old Ford Zephyr was the smell of the interior. Well, that's just stupid. You can't recreate smells. So here's a Kia Picanto.
So what we've done is we've got the Picanto, and we've gone down to Bernardo's, and I've just got a load of old woolen coats from dead people, and I've put them under the seats. Okay, so it will slightly smell of the old car.
It does smell a bit, but just of charity shop coats.
Charity shop coats.
Okay.
Talking of which,
we've heard your story, but we think your dad sounded like a bit of a bellend. So here's a Kia Picanto.
Oh gosh! Okay.
Insensitive repair shop.
But they don't repair. The repair should be in inverted commas.
It's Car SOS, but the insensitive version.
Yeah. So.
Good. Yeah. Another TV format. Check. Well, let's get that off.
I have to say, I've actually come up with another TV. I wrote down this last night. I had drunk a little bit of cider, and I thought, this is an idea for a show. I mean, it'll be controversial, but that's okay. So I thought I'd run it by you and the listeners first before I pitch it to anybody. We all know In the Jungle, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here is exceptionally popular for whatever reason, despite being publicly cruel to creatures. So I'm pitching, and we are going to need we are going to need a line of second-hand Rolls Royces. But it's, I'm a disgraced entertainer. Get me out of this Rolls Royce Shadow that's being pushed into a swimming pool. And so what we'll do is, you are basically a paedophile. You get locked into a Rolls Shadow. The Rolls gets pushed into a swimming pool. The stopwatch starts the minute the shad touches the water, and they have to get out. And if they don't get out, they die. What do you think? So I'm a pedo locked in a shadow, launched into a pool. Is that okay?
Is
that going to work?
Strong. It's quite a punchy idea, but it's definitely attention grabbing.
I think I had an idea to make sure there's more dialogue, and that is the shadows can be sealed so that there's probably 5 minutes of flotation time,
right,
before it sinks into the pool. And if there's 2 of them in there, so I don't know, just grabbing 2 names out of a hat. Let's just say Jonathan King's in there with Rolf Harris. So they're in there, and then they could be having a chat about how they might escape, but they've got about 5 minutes of chit-chat time, which is good TV entertainment time. You're sounding worried.
I have some concern. I'm just trying to preempt what the lawyers at ITV might say about this.
Okay.
But I'm not a lawyer, so...
No, I'm not.
You are essentially committing people to death on television, but on the other hand, they have, in many cases, committed some quite abhorrent crimes. So
yeah,
it's a hard one, isn't it? It's a moral maze, I would say.
It is a moral maze, and I would, because I know I don't believe in cruelty to animals, so that's why I don't watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. But all of the shadows will be chronically rotten. We'll make sure that that's the case. So they're not really economically repairable. That was one of my concerns. I thought so.
That'd be a good one for your insensitive car SOS, wouldn't it? A bloke comes in and goes, "No, this is my old Rolls-Royce Shadow. I've been using it as a wedding car for over 30 years.
Oh, it's rotten.
The poor old thing, it's just not running right. I've got a lot of rust, which I've been desperately trying to cover up. And I'm losing business, and I just feel like I just want to give the old girl some of her dignity back." And you go, "Yeah, no one wants to go to their wedding in a shad anymore, you old twat. Here's a Kia Picanto."
And we've got a sister show. This will be perfect for it. What we're going to do is we're going to put an unsavoury, disgraced entertainer in this and seem seen the doors shut, and then launch it into a swimming pool. Do you want to watch? Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be a great way to send it off.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, that's that dealt with. It's just reminded me, actually, talking of shads in swimming pools, that it never fails to annoy me, the cover of that Oasis album. Which one was it?
Isn't it What's the Story, Morning Glory?
No,
it's the one after that. It's the one after that.
Yeah, hang on, I have to look this up because I've gone blank. Basically, after the first 2 albums, I kind of
gave up,
lose interest a little bit. Yeah, because I think they got a bit too stupid. Be Here Now.
Yes,
that one. Yeah, it was Be Here Now, which was what's on there. So I can't.
Well, it predates Photoshop, doesn't it?
Well, this is what annoys me about it. It's real.
Yeah, but it doesn't look it.
They genuinely put that shad into a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And then with sort of all kinds of crates and shit to prop the nose up. And they did it, the pool was empty, and then they filled the pool.
That's right.
Huge complexity and expense.
Yeah.
There's pictures online of them doing it. All behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And it looks totally fake.
It does, doesn't it? I'm looking at it now.
And maybe, if I can, just to nerd out, it's also the fact that it's nose up, and you go, well, now, I think the shad they used, they've taken the engine out.
Yes, they did.
But even so, that doesn't, I mean, if you were a rock star and you just driven it into a pool, it would be nose down, wouldn't it?
It would be nose down.
Why is it nose up? It just looks stupid. So, but then, that probably says a lot about Oasis in the Be Here Now era. They'd taken so much nasal refreshment, they didn't know what they were doing.
It was photographed by Michael Spencer Jones.
Well, he should be ashamed of himself for not thinking about where the weight lies in a front-engined car. It's got all around the world on it, hasn't it? And it just goes on a bit, doesn't it?
It does.
It's all right. It's all right, but it goes on a bit.
No, I think you've
around the world. Yeah, we got the gist. Thanks.
You've hit the nail on the head. I think. No offence to staunch Oasis protectionists, But
who'll be tearing at their Ben Sherman shirts in rage now.
The first two albums are incredible, and then by that point I had just gone, I'm done. I think that they've done two incredible albums. They can just walk away. But obviously they walk away in that way that Manchester guys do.
with their toes like about 45 degrees out.
Like a really angry penguin.
But then your shoulders are down. You sort of your shoulder rolling as well.
Oh yes, and they got their hands like behind their back as if they've been cuffed.
Yeah,
been taken away by the law.
Wearing a parka, even though it's 22 degrees now.
They're doing another Nebworth gig. 30-degree afternoon, and they've both got lots of underlayers on.
Loads, because you've got the Ben Sherman, and then you've got some. What else? What was the label that was big? It's Stone Island, a lot of Stone Island stuff.
Yes.
I realised Be Here Now's got Do You Know What I Mean on it, which actually I do really like.
Oh, if we just shot ourselves down in the
No, because the rest of it, I'm going to listen to it later on. See, because I put on the first album not that long ago, and I haven't heard it for ages.
It's a good album.
It's fucking great. It's just really exciting, isn't it? It's got loads of energy to it. You sort of forget that when they appeared, it was like, oh, hello. I mean, they were only doing frigging, pub band Beatles stuff, really, but there was an energy to them and an attitude that made them more than that. And
they were great.
You forget. I was, in fact, funnily enough, a mate of mine, one of my housemates, when I was a student, he said we'd seen Supersonic on the chart show on a Saturday morning and kind of gone, yeah, it's pretty good. Never heard. I'd only sort of seen them mentioned in the NME. I didn't know what they sounded like. And then he went, oh, they're actually playing next week. Do you want to come and see them in quite a small venue? And then I sort of went, yes, I quite like that song, but no, I'm doing something else. Didn't go and see them, and apparently they were amazing. They played Supersonic, and Liam went, this is our new single, so go on fucking buy it.
Of course he did, whilst walking around like somebody that's been handcuffed from the back.
Yes, but a penguin that's been handcuffed.
He was doing
mank penguin,
Mancunian penguin walk.
Actually, Liam's voice is, when he speaks, is a bit. He's sort of like that. It's like he's getting quite close to just Pingu. He is Pingu. He's a mank Pingu.
He is an angry, and Pingu his mouth, sort of klaxon mouth, can get quite aggressive.
Yeah,
and Liam is notoriously quite aggressively spoken.
Yeah,
and obviously still has the swagger. I was thinking the other day, I know we've gone off on an Oasis music tangent, but I did think the other day, what if the brothers are actually really good mates, and all of this feud is manufactured so that in about 3 years or whatever, when it's the 35th anniversary of the debut album, they'll go right, like Led Zeppelin did. Right, we're going to do one world tour, and then that's it. You'll never see us again.
Oh my god!
And
make a fortune, wouldn't
and
they?
that's all they've been doing. They've been secretly meeting like every Sunday for lunch and hugging one another, and they really love one another.
Hey, whose turn is it to do the roast?
That's right. It got me fucking
I want
parsnips.
lamb. No, it's too fucking greasy.
So they're in love.
Yeah.
They're in love.
Inseparable, but they have to do it in secret. You just go around and play PlayStation around each other's houses and then have a roast. Do you know how old Liam Gallagher is?
Well, let me think. The first album was 92, wasn't it? Or 93?
No, I think it was 94.
Oh, was it? Gosh.
I think so.
Would have lost that in a pub quiz. So I reckon he would have been 20 years. If he was 20 years old, maybe 21, 22 when that came out.
Yeah. 30,
40, 50, 53.
Ooh, you've gone high. He's 50.
Is he?
Yeah, but I don't know why. Because you're right, you did the maths there, and whereas I just sort of assumed for some reason that he was like my age, which I realise I am almost 50, so that's not far off. But yeah, I just weird sort of thinking of Liam Gallagher, swaggering tit that he is 50 years old. It doesn't seem like it. But anyway,
I was amazed at he drove Bristols, didn't he?
He did.
He used to have a Bristol 403, the nice aero one.
Yeah, I think he did, which is odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it just seems to be
a connoisseur's choice, but
it's like alarmingly classy for that guy.
It's just a bit less predictable than a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, but maybe he was he's been a Shad hater all this time because he kept throwing them in the pools for the. So maybe,
Did I messaged you the other week about this? That I was sort of humming to myself, going around the house doing something, and I realised you can sing the words to Supersonic to the tune of the Venga Bus.
Can you?
It works quite well. Feeling supersonic, give me gin and tonic, and just sniffing in a tissue, selling the big issue. Yeah, it works. Try it. It's a way to drive yourself.
That's like a street Mardi Gras mix. That one. You've got to be careful because Stellantis will be on your back for that.
Immediately. Anyway, before we go any further,
yes.
We should do a little bit of Pluggerama as well, because last week we said, we're doing a live show in London. Thank you to everyone who's bought a ticket. It's sold out in a matter of days, and which is lovely because we've got quite a big audience. And we were so overwhelmed by this that we are doing a second night. So Thursday, the 8th of June, we are doing another London live show. Starts a bit early. It's 5 p.m. start for complicated reasons, because basically we have to be off the premises by 7. But the tickets are on sale. We'll put them all across the socials. But yeah, if you want to come and see us, we're doing one of our live recordings Thursday the 8th of June in London at the London Concourse event. Buy a ticket for our show, you get free entry to the concourse itself. You can come in any time from 11 o'clock in the morning when it opens and have a look at some nice cars.
I was going to say there'll be some quality vehicles.
Yes, there'll be some lovely stuff there. And they're doing a Land Rover thing this year, which is very exciting for people like me who are strange. And and then come and hear us talking some absolute slurry. And then, I don't know, maybe we'll go to the pub. But yes, if you missed out on tickets for our London show because they sold out faster than we expected, then don't worry, we've put on another show, and as we record this on Friday, there are still tickets for that available.
Yeah, and like you just said, thanks ever so much to everyone that's bothered to buy a ticket, because I mean it's lovely, it's sweet, it's lovely guys, really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody, thanks to my management. And
sorry, I don't know why it's just reminded me of this, but we've had a few people sending us a thing from the recent Eurovision coverage of the Australian entry doing some world-class woolarding on a Mark 1 MR2.
Really?
Have you seen this?
No, I don't watch the Eurovision Song Contest because it troubles me.
Quite a lot of people on their socials and on the email, hello@smithandsniff.com, if you're interested. They sent us screen grabs of this because it is. I mean, I haven't actually watched the performance. I've only seen the screen grabs. I feel like I should.
It's world-class woolarding.
It's incredible. They are, and one of them's got a keytar as well, which seals the deal.
I feel like a Mark 1 MR2 should have the equivalent of a ski rack on the roof, but for a keytar. So a keytar ski rack. What an amazing 80s Radwood style accessory that would be. Wow.
Yes.
Couldn't you?
Yeah.
And have a quick release on it so you can just click it on and unclick it. So if you pulled over into a lay-by and you need to do an impromptu sort of yacht rock style selfie.
Well, if you're driving along and the DJ went, okay, and now it's the final countdown. You were like, oh, shit, or jump. You went, oh, God, they're going to play jump. So you had to swerve to a hole.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Get the old key to...
handbrake, turn the Mr. 2 in, and then just run. You've already got the window down because you've got the arm on the door. You lift your hand up to the T-top and it's there. Unclick it. The car's still actually squealing backwards from the handbrake turn, but you get out of it before it's come to a halt.
Well, now hang on. But if you had a T-top, you could take the panels out. The rack is then more accessible. The keytar is arranged in such a way you could just put an arm up from the driver's seat and start doing
a
few little, a few little runs on the keyboard as you drive along.
And it could be charging it could be in a docking bay as well as a roof rack. So it's charging for any impromptu bit of fretboard wanking you need to do mid-journey. You
don't want a little bit of cable running down to the fag lighter. That's ineligible. This is not like a job for Singer or someone like that. People with real attention to detail where they would do a beautifully integrated... Who's got this? Oh, actually, Porsche on that Dakar.
Yeah.
You know that 911 Dakar?
Yeah.
There's a little power point on the aerial, I think, so that you can then run auxiliary lights, which go into one of those sort of accessory roof racks that goes on top.
That's right. It's sort of like, wildlife lights on the... You can. The same as the anus grenade that I drove a few months back. That has a load of power offs around the roof probably so that you can put one of those expedition roof trays on that Land Rover people like. And then invite, I don't know if it was Sir Jim Radcliffe, he'd be like, do you know what, I'd really like to buy Def Leppard. Okay, so I'm going to now buy Def Leppard, and he's going to go on a Def Leppard expedition where they're on the roof all the time, and when he shouts play, they have to play a song to suit from the roof tray. And so instead of doing wildlife safaris, he does a Def Leppard safari. So he just drives wherever he wants, stops. Def Leppard have to do a quick set. Quite windswept because they've just been on the motorway at 60.
Yeah. They've got such thick hair as well. Thick rock hair is going to be full of road grime. Bugs. But then what orientation are Def Leppard in? Because it's quite narrow, that roof tray thing.
What's
for a
orientation?
full rock band. Is it like drummer facing forward or drummer side on?
I think the lead singer, who I did remember his name and I've forgotten it now, I think he's called Joe.
Joe Elliott.
Joe Elliott, there we go. I think he is on a swivel out platform which goes out over the bonnet, so he can lean.
Right.
And he has a microphone stand which doubles as a sort of stay, which means he can lean his whole body weight on it and he won't fall off.
Right.
And he has those those expedition off-roading cables which go down the sides of the car to stop the underbrush from smacking into the windscreen and smashing the glass and denting. He has those either side of him, and it's almost like a VIP area because no one can touch him. So if he's going through a village slowly and he's in the middle of Let's Get Rocked, let's say, if there was sort of hands coming out from the crowd, sort of men and women of a certain age wanted to touch Joe Elliott's pixie boot, then they couldn't because of the underbrush cables.
Yes, they're lethal. There's a Defender that I sometimes walk past around here that's got those on, and I always go, you shouldn't have those on for road driving.
No, it's like
slice someone in half.
Well, it's like a cheese wire.
Well, I think that's good. I was wondering. I thought when you said I was imagining sort of those American motorhomes that when you stop, the sides kind of go out.
Oh yes, a bay window, extendable bay window.
Yeah, but I wondered if the platform sort of had extra platforms that could slide out, so that sort of bass and guitar could be on those. But then, maybe it's hand cranked from inside, and Jim Radcliffe's got to really crank it hard if he suddenly realises he's going through a narrow railway bridge or something.
Well,
he's got to wind them back in again. I can't remember the guitarist or the bassist from Def Leppard, but whatever they're called, let's say Joey and Bob. He's like, Joey, Bob, get back in, quick.
That's a great idea.
They've got code words. Centralise! Def Leppard, centralise! And they all go to the middle of the roof so they don't get clouted.
Well, being an 80s sort of super rock group, they will have had an elaborate stage set, and usually the drummer has a revolving platform, or do you know like as Motley Crue drummer, he was upside down in this sort of crazy ball of death. I don't even know what it was, but I know he fell out of it once because he forgot to strap himself in. Did you not know that?
What?
Yeah, it's like the tail gunner from a Lancaster bomber, right? And he it had a, from memory, please make, I promise I'm not making this up, it had a bucket seat with a 4-point harness, and he'd have to harness himself in before it started this revolving thing, this routine.
Hang on, I'm sorry, I just typed in Motley Crue.
He fell out
drummer
of it.
Cage.
I'm sure he fell out of it.
So it's Tommy Lee, isn't it? Of course,
it's Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen his Winkler.
Relationship with. But when you type this into Google, they do that. People also ask thing. Well, one of the questions is, who was the first drummer to play upside down? What a fucking stupid question.
But it's 80s rock. You've got to ask these
Well, apparently
questions.
it wasn't. Jack Valentine invented and played the world's first drum riser to perform upside down.
Wow.
And so it wasn't even Tommy Lee. But hang on, there's a Time Out. I've done a history of Motley Crue's flying drum set.
Well, listen, I'm not making it up. I'm sure it's like a slow drumming roller coaster that they had made.
Yeah.
But the problem is it would start its routine when he knew he was going to do this mad solo or this one track. Oh, forgive me, I don't know a lot of Motley Crue songs. But it would go out over the crowd and it would do a full revolve and other sort of thing. But of course, he had to know what the signal was to do that and then strap himself in, because he wasn't strapped in prior to that. And I think he just sort of like forgot or just put one shoulder strap on. You know, like when they do a driver change on an endurance race, and in the old days they didn't bother to strap in until lap 2. I think he was going for that kind of effort, and consequently had to bail out. Well, he got ejected from the drum cage. So I think he might have really badly hurt himself. But I mean, because he was off his trolley on Boutros Ghali, probably he wouldn't have even known. Just climbed back in.
Well, yeah, it's anyway. I can't help thinking of the Half Man Half Biscuit lyric. That's, oh, help me, something, something, I don't know what to do. I've only got 3 bullets and there's 4 of Motley Crue.
Actually, I can't believe that they're all alive.
Are they?
I think they're all alive.
Are they not like sort of old Russian presidents where, in fact, they're kind of being kept alive by animatronics and
they could be
experimental medical science?
What, they all look like they're in Ripley's Believe It or Not, as animatronic characters of themselves.
Yeah, weirdly waxy, unrealistic Motley Crue. Anyway, apparently he got stuck upside down in it not that long ago.
Great.
Old Tommy Lee. But,
I think my piece of advice would be, there's just no need to drum upside down, so I probably wouldn't risk it.
I imagine it makes, I mean, in some ways, probably a great technical feat, because gravity is working against you for the way in which drumming works.
Yes.
Gravity is probably your friend in normal drumming circumstances. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going down a wormhole of Tommy Lee being a tit upside down. But
well, talking of, talking of tits. The Miami Formula One Grand Prix, was it exclusively created for twats? Can I just ask this question?
There's a horribly obnoxious air to the whole thing, isn't there? I just can't.
It's horrid.
Yeah,
I'm afraid it's horrid, and of course, DJ Khaled was there, so I think we probably need to knock that one on the head immediately with no further discussion.
Oh, what, you don't want to give him the oxygen of publicity?
Oh gosh, I just saw him walking around with an air gun around Aston Martin's paddock, and you just think him with an air gun is a dangerous game.
Yeah, a friend of ours sent me that the other night, said, have you seen this? It's good material for the podcast. And I looked at it, and he does this thing where he starts wafting the air gun towards the wheel of the car, but it's got the tyre warmers on. And it's clear that he doesn't know what any of the objects he's looking at actually are or do. Well,
he's the kind of guy that would just drive off with tyre warmers on and then say, I think there's something a bit wrong with the car. He's that guy. In fact, I think regular listeners to the podcast know how much I really respect and like DJ Khaled. But I would very much like, he did mention it, he was doing some, I think, quite cringe-worthy corporate social media stuff with one of the drivers. Was it Charles Leclerc or something like that?
No, I think he was doing a load of stuff with Lance Stroll.
Oh, that's it. It was with Lance. So it's a really cheesy, like them driving to the track in some SUV.
Yes, I watched this as well. They're in a DBX, I think.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. It's all embarrassing. But one of the take-homes was where DJ Khaled was like, when am I going to get to drive in one of the cars? And I thought, that's something we need to make happen. Because he'll be so cocksure that he knows what he's doing. You won't need to brief him at all. You just get him in it, just wedge him in it, just make him a new race seat out of, I don't know, a bag full of toothpaste. And then get him in the car and then just go, off you go then. DJ. Go on, do it.
If today's your first name.
And we rig it, and they've got all those FPV drones chasing it. Not that it's going to go very far, and just see what happens. Khaled's hot lap. I think it would just be an amazing thing to watch.
Yes,
or he does it in a Maybach instead. Does it in a Maybach?
I don't want to kind of body shame him, but I don't know that he would fit into the monocoque of a modern Formula One car.
Or could they get a
lad.
slightly crash damaged one and then just smash the side out of the cockpit so he just slides in? So he can just walk in. He can walk in and then they can aerospace glue the side back on once he's in.
Oh, yeah. Or just glue them to his arms.
Actually, there you go.
Glue them to his
glue
elbows.
the side of the cars to his elbows. Yeah, so do that and then he's in it and then just go basically, right, we're going to start it up. Within a minute of us starting it up, you need to just go.
I mean, this is the thing I was saying to our friend about watching him at the Miami Grand Prix. He is an incredible example of what happens when you have boundless confidence and zero talent. You can still make it.
You absolutely can. He's got 34 million followers on Instagram, which I had to go and lie down and think about hard.
I don't know why this is just reminding me of.
But well done. He's doing great. He's a lovely guy, I'm sure.
sweet,
deluded guy.
I don't know why this is just reminding me, but we had a message from a listener called James Boscarini. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, James. But
that's a 70s supercar that came and went.
It is, isn't it? The Boscarini, yes.
What a great name.
That's a good 70s supercar.
Yeah.
Sadly, he nothing about 70s supercars, but we haven't had any hand dryer chat for a while. So I thought James was in the South Bank Centre in lovely, leafy London town, and they've got a solution, as James says, to not harming old people.
Oh,
they've put the Dyson blow water all over the floor dryer into the recessed bin assembly.
Oh.
So if you imagine one of those sort of stainless steel hole in the wall and there's a bin within it.
Yeah.
He sent us a picture, and this is actually ingenious, but also because then the dryer's sort of up in the cavity above the bin.
Yeah.
Blows the water into the bin. James says the bag is secured enough that it doesn't blow up or cause too much noise, a consideration I'm sure they made when installing. I wonder if the loose wrappers can break free as the bin becomes more full, or perhaps are forced down by the water coming from the hands. On that note, the bin bag must collect water like a funfair bagfish prize.
That bag will be so heavy at the end of the day.
Yes, well, that really made me laugh, the idea that then, because it does look like a clear bag as well, that when they remove the bag, it's all of these sort of snotty tissues and chewing gum wrappers in water like a fairground goldfish. He says, alas, not the first time a men's loo has housed a soggy bag.
We still get emails, don't we, about Mitsubishi jet towels? Still.
All the time.
People are loving it. You listeners, you love a bit of jet towel. And we all know it is the superior product to the Dyson floor soaker. So, yeah, the jet towel will always reign supreme, I feel. But it does I feel like we should start sticker bombing them. I think that would be a good thing to do. Although I can't endorse that because, I don't know, it's naughty or something.
Also, I want to see just a little ref back to last week. We briefly mentioned Bryan Adams' Land Rover.
Oh, yes.
A chap called Doug Peace got in touch, said he talked about Bryan's Land Rover. It was a one-off build on a Range Rover Classic 100-inch chassis.
What?
Made in the early 90s in the UK. There's a copy of another 100-inch now owned by Nick Dimbleby. We know Nick, don't we?
Ooh.
Land Rover enthusiast and ace car photographer.
And grew up in the same village as me. Yeah. Sweet guy. I went to school with his sister.
Did you?
I genuinely did, yeah. And then we both ended up doing jobs off of the car industry and all that.
Off of the car industry.
And all that, yeah.
Well, hello, Nick, if you're listening. Nick sent us that fabulous Camel Trophy book that he wrote.
That's a gorgeous book.
What a tomb that is, tome.
Yeah.
So apparently there was this original Land Rover built on a 100-inch chassis, so it sort of splits the difference between a 90 and a 110. I guess it's a bit more stable than a 90, but it's...
that's very niche, isn't it?
Break over than a 110.
So the Adams knew what he was ordering or buying.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's great.
Doug says, to be fair, white 8-spokes were all you could get at the time. So,
is this in the defence of Bryan Adams having white Wellers?
In the defence of Bryan Adams, but fair enough. I mean, that is a proper kind of Land Rover pervert's choice, isn't it?
Yeah,
I meant to. Let's have a look.
I think he's an. I think Bryan. To clarify, I'm not dissing Bryan Adams. I think he's actually a cool guy. And he's done some great music.
He sort of blotted his copybook because he had that song at number 1 for 9 years, didn't he? But that wasn't his fault. I mean, he just made the record. He didn't go, and now it must be at number 1 forever till people are sick of it. It's like...
Exactly.
It was at number 1 because people kept buying it.
Exactly.
Because they liked it.
And it was a good film. I mean,
slushy.
Well, it was a very last dance at the school disco of that era for me.
Yeah.
What was that, 92, 91?
I think it was 91 because I think I went to my cousin's wedding that year and they predictably had it as maybe their first dance or the end of the night. I don't know. That song was everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But not his fault.
No, not his fault. No.
Also, can I give a shout out to... I don't like the phrase guilty pleasures because I think it's like if you like something, then just you like it. Okay, it's nothing to be ashamed of. When people go, I love the Bee Gees, they're my guilty pleasures. Like, no, the Bee Gees are fucking great. Just admit you would like them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Great.
But so on that note, not a guilty pleasure, just a song that I like is When You're Gone by Bryan Adams and Mel C.
Oh, do you?
I really like that song. Okay. Do you not?
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah, no, sorry. I'm not going to demand.
But what I like is the fact that you openly admit it and you stick with it. I like that.
Yeah. I do. I absolutely do. I've got it. I think I've got it on my current running playlist.
Well, I mean, I should call this a guilty pleasure. I actually bought the DJ Sammy version of "We're in Heaven" by Bryan Adams.
Did you?
Yeah, I was going through a low patch and I bought it on CD single. And the thing is, if you watch the music video, which will be on YouTube now, I haven't visited it for a long time, you realise that DJ Sammy is not only driving an absolutely gorgeous SL Pagoda Mercedes down a very narrow mountain road, but he's also got a very, very New Age Traveller rat's tail haircut, sort of basically a mullet. It's a free party mullet. There's no other way around. It's a free party mullet. And I think he's got gap year beads on as well.
Yeah, I was going to say there must be some beading going on. What year was that?
I think it was 99. I think it was 99.
He's got Ibiza beads, hasn't he?
He has got Ibiza beads, yeah.
I bet he just rattled. That's why he had to get other people to do the vocals on his songs because he was too rattly.
Yeah, he can't go near the mixing desk. He just has to shout from across the room how he wants it.
Little trade secret. In recent years, TV's Jeremy Clarkson's got a bit gap year bangly.
He has.
For some reason.
Yes, he has.
Yeah. He's all bangly. Well, when we do voiceovers, since he got a bit bangly, he tends to sit on the hand with the bangles near it. Because otherwise,
he sits on his own hand.
Around. Yeah, he sits on it because otherwise he waves his hands around to sort of put some oomph into the voiceover, as a lot of presenters do.
Yeah,
and it's too rattly.
Can't he?
So he has to remember to sit on the bangle hand so that it's not noise being picked up on the mic.
You need to get some 80s leg warmers and make sure he puts them over his wrists, like oversized tennis sweatbands.
I think I did once suggest to an engineer that we could just wrap gaff around his wrist, but it might hurt when it was being pulled off again. What was I going to say about Bryan Adams? Oh no, uplifting Euro versions of rocky songs is a. I mean, again, I'm not going to say guilty pleasure. I just like them. There was I can't remember the name now of the artist that did a uplifting Euro version of "Losing My Religion." Abigail. Gosh,
I don't know that, Richard.
Yeah, wow. It was from the 90s, and it's just because they're ludicrous. I just like them.
It's a bit like it was Bono's birthday the other day, and it reminded me that one of my favourite U2 tracks is in fact a perfecto remix of The Real Thing. You're the Real Thing.
Yes.
And it is an absolute tune. I had to go and listen to it again. I'd highly recommend it if you're driving around in your 90s car and all that. It does sound really good. And talking of which, I think I'm going to just finish the music chat this week by saying Calvin Harris's latest track. Normally, Calvin does some stone cold, solid dance tracks, I would say. This latest one, where Ellie Goulding does the vocals, it just sounds like a bad, like Robert Miles pastiche. I'm not into it. It doesn't work.
It's definitely. Yeah,
it doesn't work.
But it's sort of knowingly 90s, isn't it?
It's too 90s, and it's Mark III Cavalier music for me. It's pure Mark III Cavalier, and as good as the Mark III was, especially in touring car, it was never a Mark II. It was never a Mark II.
Yeah.
SRI 130 for the win. Do you know what? I can't stand the term for the win. I'm glad that's gone now. People don't say that anymore.
Has it gone? I think it still lurks sometimes.
It's like people that say get in. There's not much get in anymore, is there? Get in.
No, unless you work in a theatre. In fact, funnily enough, that's I saw that term the other day because we're doing our Bristol show next week, or the end of this week by the time you listen to this, and because it's in a theatre, I had to do this sort of paperwork for what our requirements are, and they use the term get in.
Do they?
Get in. Yeah, well, to load a set into a theatre is known as the get in, and then the get out at the end. Of course, we have like 3 retractable banners, so our get in's going to be pretty minimalist.
Should we get a load of like flight cases and stuff with stencils of Smith and Sniff on, and a load of mulleted roadies?
Dire Straits have arrived in the 80s, and then we just go 3 retractable banners, and we're good. You've provided the chairs, right? Great.
And a stack of leaflets for no good reason. That'd just be great. I'd like
local tourist attraction.
I'd like a printed leaflet, and all it has on it is our social media details. Just to make it...
And they're spelt wrong.
They're all spelt wrong.
Well, on that note, we're looking forward to seeing people in Bristol on Friday. Do come along. Well, if you've got a ticket, do come along. Don't forget, because that would be a bit of a shame. But we'll see you there at the Tobacco Factory on Friday evening. And then if you're listening to this, you will get to hear the results, pending some kind of audio disaster, next Monday.
I can't wait to see you all there. And no,
I'm looking forward to it. With a due sense that my wife's coming and some of my friends, and I've never really done any of this in front of
I'm feeling the pressure of that.
I know.
I'm feeling the pressure of that.
Yeah, I know. They're just going to be sitting in the front row going, this is what you do for a living? For fuck's sake. So,
I don't... Well, do you know, I've just realised we've nearly come to the end of this podcast. We haven't mentioned any observations from the King's coronation. And I don't have many automotive references, although I am fascinated by the orb and the sceptres, just because I still don't understand the point of the orb. But anyway...
It's got a tiny drinks cabinet in it. It's got gin miniatures.
Is that what it is?
Little airline tonic cans, yeah.
I'd like it if it was just a really expensive location to put your car keys in the house. So it hinges up and you've got the Audi Allroad keys in it for Charlie. But the observation I had was when the King, our lovely King Charles, and Camilla, the Queen, got into the golden carriage, the royal carriage, I just kept commenting, according to my children, on the incredible suspension setup of the carriage. Is it very
soft?
It's extremely soft, but it's also it's very highly mounted, because you know how a carriage, it's suspended on these sort of turrets almost, and then it soaks up every single bump from the wooden wheels, or wood with iron banding on, probably. I can't remember back then.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were V-rated in sort of carriage terms or not, those iron-clad wooden spokes.
Track day carriage wheels.
He could have been going for
Toyos.
He could have gone for some extra. Yeah, they've, instead of the iron band, they went for a softer metal, so that
it wears faster.
It wears quicker. Yeah, it creates some sort of theatrical sparks on some of the tighter corners of London.
I know what you mean with I didn't really watch the coronation. We were at some friends. We went over to friends' houses, and and we had it on the telly, and no one was that interested. We were sort of busy chatting, and the kids kind of watched it for a bit, and then they lost interest.
It was very long.
It does go on a bit.
It went on a bit. But there were some bad ceremonial shoes. The orb and the sceptre. Yeah. It was clutter. It was funny. But the carriage was incredible. And the other thing I would point out, which I thought was extremely Smith and Sniff as I was watching it, was the fact that whose bright idea is to put a full brass band on horseback whilst playing. Just think about that for a second. So,
well, now hang on. If it had been up to us, we could have had Def Leppard on the roof of Elena's Grenade, and then it would have been, much quicker and arguably more dignified.
Yeah, and the drummer could go out on a plinth that would occasionally clip a tree at the side of the road.
Try and get through Admiralty Arch, and the drummer and the bassist and the guitarist get cuffed off.
Well, the Ineos Grenade is on full lead.
Next major.
Yeah, but the brass band fascinates me. I mean, if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it, because whose idea is it to put a drum kit next to a horse's head? famously calm animals, the horses. He's got a kettle drum. He's got like a kettle drum either side of his head. And you're like, this could only go wrong. Whose idea was this? There's a guy with a tuba, and the X of the tuba is right next to a horse's ear. And you're like, what are you doing?
They were just followed by a bloke who's on a horse letting off fireworks. This can't have any problems related to it at all.
I can't see how any of the rehearsals that we've done prior to now can possibly be any different to the day. So,
well, admittedly, in the rehearsals, I wasn't repeatedly firing a shotgun at the ground. But apart from that, it's identical, and I'm sure it'll all be okay.
I was just
giddy up.
Honestly, the horses, just the bravest things, the bravest horses.
Yeah, but not Def Leppard on top of a 4x4, is it?
No.
Anyway,
not, but,
well, let's wrap this up, because I need to go and change my trousers. So, before we go, I have 3 things to tell you. They are: 1, Johnny has a solo YouTube channel. It's called The Incinerate Cheesecake Show, in which Johnny needlessly throws sweet desserts into intense fires for his own amusement. This week, chucking a lovely raspberry one from Tesco into a blast furnace on Teesside. If that's not to your taste, because it's bollocks, then there's always the Late Break Show. Lots of excellent videos about cars on there. Recycling Centre going great guns.
Yeah, it is. And I'm annoyed at myself, because I've had in excess of 15 people saying, why didn't you refer to it as the Late Breakers Show? Because you were referring to a breakers yard. And I actually punched myself in the face when I realised I hadn't thought of that. So that's annoying. But no, it is good. And actually, when this video when this podcast goes out, the latest freshly baked Late Break Show will be One Up Your Strasser. It's a barn find, right, of a lovely late 70s Porsche 911 SC. Ooh. Which has been in the family for a very long time, and it is in a very idyllic Welsh countryside setting. So I would recommend you go and have a look at that, please.
I will.
Yeah,
I will. Second thing I've got to tell you is obviously we're doing live shows, and there are still tickets available as we speak for the second London show on the 8th of June. So go to smithandsniff.com and follow the link to live shows, or we'll put it all over the socials until tickets are gone. If they're gone, they might not. I mean, we are stretching ourselves a bit here. But anyway, hopefully we'll see you there. And the third thing I've got to tell you is that Jimi Hendrix could parachute.
What?
Jimi Hendrix, obviously a very accomplished guitarist, but he also knew how to parachute, because when he was 19, he was caught twice joyriding or being a passenger in stolen cars, and he was given the choice of prison or joining the army. So he joined the army and did 8 weeks basic training before going to the 101st Airborne Division.
Oh my gosh.
Doing his paratrooper training.
Well, I know I say this every time. I didn't know that. That's the point of this. That's the entire point of this.
I always feel it's a shame he didn't build it into his sets more, that he could sort of arrive by parachute. I mean, it is a matter of record that he didn't enjoy his time in the army, and he was given an honourable discharge because he was basically so not asked about it. But he did, before he left, learn to parachute.
I feel like that's what I would be like in the army, but with less guitaring skills.
Yeah. Can I learn to parachute, please? Yep, right now I'm off.
Oh, that's a great piece of trivia, that's amazing.
Good. Well, I mean, that's that for this. We'll see y'all who are coming to the Brizzle show on Friday. I will attempt to not refer to Bristol as Brizzle because I know it's annoying for local people. But we will hopefully see some of you there, and then we will show our homework of what happened on Monday. But until then, goodbye.
Bye now.
You know just what to do. Like and subscribe and review. You know just what to do. Like and subscribe and review. You know just what to do. Like and subscribe.
Shit, I've got to go because I've got to go to the tip.
If you go into the tip and you've got trousers that are already split, when you've emptied the boot of all your bags, just take your trousers off in full view of everybody and just throw them in the nearest bin, and then just get in the car and drive off.
I just do my shirt as well. Just ostentatiously disrobe at the recycling centre.
Take the lot off, apart from shoes and socks. So you step out of those, and all you have is a watch on, shoes and socks. It's the most unsexy thing a guy can do. Totally strip, but leave shoes and socks on.
At a municipal recycling centre. It's just revolting.